You are listening to the Space-Tastic Mysteries podcast. We are continuing Anna Gale Line's third novel in the Jaguar and Peacock series, Lost on Planet M-142. Trapped on the hostile world of Planet M-142, Commander Jessa Peacock Masters of the Intergalactic Intelligence Bureau has spent 3 grueling months undercover, investigating a mysterious cult led by the enigmatic blind prophet, Danielle Jabot. Is Jabot a visionary, a fraud, or something far more dangerous? The deeper Jessa digs, the more tangled the web becomes: secrets, deception, and whispers of an impending assassination. When her husband and fellow operative, Nate Masters, finally joins her, their mission takes a deadly turn. Someone wants Danielle Jabot dead, and the list of suspects is as vast as the stars. As Jessa and Nate race against time, they must navigate a treacherous world of fanatic followers, shadowy enemies, and their own rekindled partnership. With every step closer to the truth, one question looms: is Jabot the target, or the mastermind? This is episode 12, Double Trouble. If you have not subscribed, do so now, and hit the bell to be notified of new episodes.
I checked Danielle Jabot's bank account records. Bree started, moving a small pitcher of vinaigrette over her salad of spring mix lettuce, carrots, cucumbers, and red cabbage. I found something interesting. She tossed her salad with her fork and spoon, trying to distribute the vinaigrette throughout the salad. She picked up a cucumber and bit into it. Every month $1 million is transferred from her account to someone else's. She waved her fork full of lettuce around in the air. Guess whose? One of our 3 eligible bachelors, I suppose, I answered, cut my lettuce into smaller pieces and gathered some lettuce on my fork, putting it to my mouth. I peered over at her. Bree looked around the table, biting the food off her fork. Her eyes fell upon me, slightly smirking. I knew she was bursting at the seams to tell us. When I finally nodded, she blurted out, "Hawk Pryor." "Sounds like blackmail to me," added Nate, poking several pieces of lettuce, then hooked a piece of chicken. He winked at me as he ate the lettuce and chicken. I wonder what he has over Jabot's head. I slipped my shoe off my non-injured leg, running my foot up and down Nate's leg. I cast Nate a fragile smile. I believe I know the answer to that. I put another forkful of salad into my mouth. I noticed that everyone had laid their forks down and stared at me in anticipation. I continued to chew my lettuce a little more slowly. I swallowed, running my tongue over my teeth. Then I laid my fork down. "Today, Xander," turning to Bree, one of the Liberty guards, looking around the table, stopping to stare at each of their faces. Xander and I stopped by City Hall, where I nibbled at my lip, searching for the right word that wouldn't upset Nate, convinced the county clerk to let me have a peek at Take Lewis birth and adoption records. "By convinced?" questioned Nate with a sneer. "You mean you did the peacock dance?" "Peacock dance," commented Colin, resting his elbows on the table, propping up his chin. I turned my head to the obvious confusion. "Colin. He thinks that I made the county clerk think that he could have a relationship with me if he let me look at the records." "Is that how you got your code name Peacock?" Colin prompted, giving me a faint smile. I nodded, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks. Not that I had done anything wrong. I was just doing my job. I had to use everything I had, within reason, to catch the bad people, and if that meant flirting a little, I saw nothing wrong with it. Anyway, I saw his birth certificate. Nothing new. Danielle Jabot was listed as his mother, father unknown, but it was his adoption papers that held the real gem. I reshifted myself, wincing. Pain shot through my ankle. Hawk Pryor and his wife, a Patricia Pryor, adopted Take Lewis when he was a few days old. "So what, you think that maybe Hawk Pryor is blackmailing Danielle Jabot?" "Why?" Bree wondered, picking up her fork again and working on her salad. She glanced at me in between bites. She doesn't like being in the public eye, and if there were controversy surrounding the father of Take, she might want to keep it quiet. "But we don't know who that is," Nate protested, resuming his eating as well. Waving his fork around, he added, "And that may be irrelevant anyway." "I think it's Philip Matthews," I mumbled, picking at the cheese of my chicken. "Yeah, Nate's right," Bree agreed, chewing on a piece of chicken. "That theory is stretching it." I pushed my plate away. My appetite had vanished. Instead, I felt like a rookie agent again, defending my gut feelings. I shook my head. I had worked too hard in listening to my instincts to turn against them now. No matter how far out they seemed. I just had to prove my instincts right. They chatted about what they had turned up. I was only half listening. My mind consumed with plotting my next move. Ring. Just then the phone rang. "I'll get it," I told the group, who were too caught up in their theories to hear me. I stood up, grabbing my crutches. I put them under my arms and made my way over to the phone. "Jessa, this Philip Matthews," a familiar masculine voice greeted. "I need to discuss Danielle Jabot's condition with you. Can you come to the hospital right away?" An edge of anxiety in his voice. "Sure, I'll be right there." I wondered what he really wanted. Was this a trap? "Come alone," he growled. As if trying to cover up his roughness, he said in a more gentle voice, "I don't want to worry anyone else unnecessarily." Warning bells went off in my head. I debated about whether going alone was such a good idea. I glanced back at the group of people who were supposed to be on my side. I decided that going alone would have to do. "Give me a few minutes." I hung up the phone and navigated my wall down the hall to my bedroom. The bedroom that Nate was getting overly friendly with me in just an hour and a half ago. I sat on the bed, pulled out my nightstand drawer and grabbed my 9mm, loaded it and placed it in the ankle holster around my good leg. I shut the drawer. Hobbling back down the hallway to the kitchen, I called out, "I've got to take care of something. I'll be back later." I seized my keys from the counter. I unlocked the deadbolt and walked out the door into the carport. "I'm coming with you," Nate yelled, running to catch up with me. I had almost shut the door in his face, but his foot stopped it. I stood there in the dimly lit carport. "No, you are not going with me," I told him in a tone harsher than I meant. He folded his arms across his chest. "Yes, I am." He took a step forward. That call was a lead, wasn't it? Just a call from the hospital. One of the doctors wants to talk to me about Danny's condition. I rose my crutch up, blocking him. "I can handle it on my own." He tried to remove the crutch. "You are in no condition to be walking at dark to the hospital. I'll take one of the guards with me." I rolled my eyes. "Jag, go back in the apartment. I'll be back before you know it." After a few seconds, he seemed to dismiss it, retreating back into the apartment. When he locked the door, I pulled the chain out from under my shirt. I opened the top of the diamond ring hanging from it, hitting a button until it blinked. Then I closed the diamond and tucked it under my shirt once again. Inside the diamond was a homing device. Once activated, the IIB could track my whereabouts if I didn't check in at the appointed times. After making arrangements with Omar, one of the guards, to accompany me to the hospital, I called General Graham and apprised him of the situation, just in case. I wanted my bases covered. Once we arrived at the hospital, I left Omar posted at the door while I went it. As I ventured through the lobby, I felt something crack over my head. A prickling sensation ran up and down my spine as I felt myself go limp and fall to the ground, succumbing to the darkness. A few minutes later, I slowly opened my eyes. My head ached. I reached up and touched the ever-growing bump on the back of my head, letting out a guttural grunt. Philip Matthews and Hawk Pryor towered over me. Hawk had a .35 pointed on me. I had to think quick. What would make these men trust me? Oh man, I am so tired of this. I don't get paid enough. I rolled my eyes, struggling to get up from the bed on which I laid. I surveyed my surroundings. I appeared to be in a green room with 2 twin beds, 2 nightstands and a small restroom. If I had been working for the other side trafficking drugs, extorting people, murdering people, I could have made enough money to retire. Hawk and Philip Matthews exchanged an amused look. Turning his attention back to me, he sat down on the edge of my bed. "Maybe it's not too late," Philip coaxed, touching my bump. When I winced in pain, he said in a low voice, "Let me tend to that nasty bump." Unzipping his black bag, he took out a bottle. Antiseptic, I assumed. He retrieved a cotton ball, putting it to the mouth of the bottle. We didn't mean to hurt you, only to shut you up. You have a big mouth. Maybe you too can use my skills. You've seen them in action. I am an excellent marksperson, and one of the IIB's finest. I could convince them that I was through with the IIB, maybe, just maybe, I could gain their trust. You mean you really want to turn your back on the IIB? Philip prompted, swabbing my bump with the cotton ball. I mean, if you were to join forces with us, you'd have to check your conscience at the door. We are ruthless. That's no problem. Lately, I have just wanted to knock some of these agents against the wall and beat them senseless. What about that husband of yours, Nate Masters? He demanded, a scowl on his face as he ripped open a bandage. Is he going to be a problem? I laughed. He is such an idiot. He has this stupid idea that I could go back to being a good, little agent after working as Danny's enforcer. I managed to pull myself into an upright position. I'm a lot further on this investigation than I've told him. Can you believe that? The man would trust me to the bitter end. It's a trap, Matthews. She's setting us up, Hawk called from the end of the bed. He impatiently paced from one end of the room to the other. His fingers were in his mouth, confirming his anxiety. Just shoot her already. Philip looked over at Hawk, then at me. How do I know that you aren't setting us up? I ripped my comlet off my wrist, throwing it down on the bed. I bent over, hiking up my pant leg. I removed my gun and placed it next to the comlet. If I was setting you up, would I have done that? Hawk walked over to me, grabbed my blouse and pulled me from the bed. He threw me against the wall, facing it. He patted me down. Okay, she's clean, he yelled over to Matthews. He turned back to me. You stay here. Matthews and I are going to discuss this. Matthews and Hawk went across the room, huddling together. A few minutes later, they walked back over to me. Hawk stood with hands clasped in front of him. You will do what you normally do. No need to get anyone suspicious. He moved closer. We will set up meetings with you periodically, so you can slip us the information. Do you understand? He stood an inch away from my face. His arm underneath my neck, pinning me to the wall. Don't double-cross me, or you will be sorry. Any questions? Yeah, what's my cut? I'm sticking my neck out, and if I get caught, I will be brought up on treason charges. Do you know the penalty for treason? Death, he snarled. So if I'm going to risk my life, I am going to get a cut, I told them in a businesslike voice. Otherwise I am going to take everything I know about you and expose it in every paper in town, then I will sell that same information to the highest bidder. I grabbed Hawk's arm, leaned into it and flipped him onto the floor. I hobbled over to him, putting my foot on his chest. Now I'm taking 40%, I informed him, reaching over to the bed for my comlet and gun. I pointed it at Matthews. I looked from one to the other. Double-crossing me right now wouldn't be in your best interests because I will kill you. Hawk watched me with numbed horror. I am going home to be with my family and act like this conversation never took place, until we set up another meeting. I cocked my gun. Think about it before following me. You both have had my bullets pumped in you, and you both survived because I didn't want you dead. I bent over and clutched one of my crutches, putting it under one arm. I put the gun in the other hand before bending over and seizing the other crutch. I negotiated my way to the door. The gun still pointed on them. But the next time I put a bullet in either of you, you will be dead. I slipped outside the door and down the hallway, continually watching behind me.